from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up today on AgDay is the need for rural vets grows. One Texas university prepares to make history.
It's been in the works for 5 decades, and so it's a huge honor, but it's also an awesome responsibility.
PETA has a new message when it comes to livestock production. As a farmer fights for his life, harvest rolls on without him.
It's just a somber time. You don't know what's going to happen.
AgDay, presented by the Chevy Silverado and the all-new Silverado HD, the strongest, most advanced family of Silverados ever.
Good morning, I'm Betsy. Clinton is on assignment. Cases of a rare and dangerous mosquito-borne virus are growing in the farmer community. The Michigan Department of Health and Human Services reporting 4 additional cases of eastern equine encephalitis, also known as Triple E, have been confirmed in southwest Michigan, including 2 that were deadly. One of the confirmed cases, a fruit farmer in southwest Michigan. I visited the farm as he continues to fight for his life in the hospital. Uninterrupted motion, the back and forth steps of grading and packing apples as a demanding time of the season nears.
As far as retailing goes, it's the beginning of it.
And at Tremendous Fruit Farm in Eau Claire, Michigan, it's not uncommon to see family, including the farm's owner, working beside them.
He's generally the type of guy that works with you, kind of like you'd have a working manager. He's one of the nicest guys you could ever want to meet.
However, this year is different, and not by choice. Owner and third-generation farmer Bill Teichman is one of a handful of people in southwest Michigan to contract a rare and fatal mosquito-borne virus of eastern equine encephalitis, also known as Triple E, which creates swelling to the brain. Adding more emotion to a year when the business lost its previous leader, famed fruit farmer Herb, Bill's father. Bill going from the emergency room to ICU, now in long-term care in the process of being weaned off a respirator.
It's just a somber time. You don't know what's going to happen.
Teichman's family says they don't know where or how he contracted Triple E, but there are cases growing nationwide and also here in Michigan.
Over the past 10 years or so, we've only had 8 cases in the state of Michigan. So for us to have as many cases as we have this year in 2019, it is an unusual year.
The limited number of cases is why Teichman's family says it was hard to determine initially what was wrong.
Because Triple E is a very rare illness, there has not been as much research conducted on it.
Conrad says symptoms may just appear even 10 days after being bitten and can sometimes lead to seizures or a coma-like state.
It has a lot to do with climate, and mosquitoes are active in our area, and we know the mosquitoes that are active in our area do come with certain risks and can carry certain diseases.
As a critical moment approaches for the apple season,
Our Columbus weekend is probably our biggest apple weekend.
they keep going on the assembly line at Tremendous. Continual steps without their leader alongside. Constant hope he'll make it through. There's a GoFundMe page for Bill Teichman, owner of Tremendous Fruit Farm in Eau Claire, Michigan. If interested, you may find it online or head to agweb.com and click on this story. Happening later today, China's trade and economic officials arrive in Washington. Meetings with their U.S. counterparts will take place possibly today and tomorrow. Our Washington correspondent Jim Wiesmeyer saying China is continuing to push an initial deal focused on agriculture and other less contentious subjects. But U.S. officials want an overall comprehensive deal. He says the Trump administration might consider removing new tariffs if there is an agreement on intellectual property. Thailand's government is denying rumors of an outbreak of African swine fever. The rumor started to spread after reports surfaced of culling of pigs in the northern part of the country. An agriculture ministry statement saying while no outbreak was confirmed, road checkpoints have been established to block the transport of pigs out of designated risk areas, mostly along the border with Myanmar. Thailand bars pig imports from Myanmar, which registered its first swine fever outbreak last month. Reports that about 200 pigs were recently culled and tissue samples sent for testing. But South Korea is confirming a second case of ASF near its border with North Korea. Crews were spotted spraying chemicals to disinfect a pig farm. Officials were planning to cull some 5,000 pigs raised at a farm. It comes on the heels of officials culling nearly 4,000 pigs earlier this week and stepping up quarantine efforts after confirming the country's first case of the disease. Too much water, still a big problem in South Dakota. Meteorologist Mike Hoffman has more in today's crop comments.
Thanks, Betsy. Sometimes you don't know whether to laugh or cry in these situations. Jason Cokes and Stephen Velick sharing this video of Jim Cokes in his field north of Yankton. The guys joking that Jim is checking the moisture on James River corn by doing a little fishing and bringing up what else but an ear of corn. You can see the tassels on the corn popping up through the water. Now, clearly a lot of water in that area following last week's deluge in South Dakota. Here's the wind speed forecast. We are going to start off fairly windy parts of the upper Great Lakes and parts of the southeast. Of course, a little windy in East Texas too, with the remnants of that tropical storm. As we head through the afternoon, the windiest area turns out to be out west in the central mountains. And you can see as we head into the day tomorrow, a little breezy in the western plains. That ends up getting a little windier as we head through the day, and that'll also be back into the Four Corner region and parts of Florida. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Still ahead, we get some perspective on the wheat market as another crop goes in. Plus, Texas breaking ground on history later today. How one university is addressing the rural vet shortage in the Lone Star State coming up.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
A Saudi military spokesman says an attack on its oil industry came, quote, from the north. The official saying the attack was, quote, unquestionably sponsored by Iran. On Saturday, an attack struck the world's biggest oil processing facility in Saudi Arabia, as well as an oil field. Though Yemen's Houthi rebels claim responsibility, the U.S. alleges Iran was behind it. The attack caused the price per barrel to surge Monday in the U.S. But Saudi Arabia's energy minister says oil supply from the kingdom is fully back online and that it will keep full oil supply for its customers for the month of September. That's despite saying on Tuesday that half of the lost production will be fully restored by the end of the month. In market news, the Federal Reserve has cut a key interest rate for the second time this year, and soybean futures came under pressure on Wednesday after USDA failed to announce any new sales to China. Corn prices also retreating. Here's more now from the CME.
Soybeans were a little bit easier. Brazil crop is in good shape, and so that's definitely going to put a lid on our markets for sure. The futures did start higher overnight, but that USDA report raising the production numbers in Brazil put the kibosh. Today in the livestock market, cattle was mixed. Seasonal beef demand is relatively soft right now, a little sluggish. However, the market has rallied almost 6% in the past week, but it is consolidating a little bit and not filling that gap that was created from the Tyson fire, which is really relatively interesting. The market has moved right up to the bottom of that gap, but it hasn't been able to fill it. I think that's a little bit concerning, I think, for some of the traders. The feeders were firm again today. The cash trade is better than last week, so that looks pretty good. But even with the firmer tone, there's not much expected today. We're going to look for more increased trade tomorrow and Friday. That might give us a little bit of an indication.
The winter wheat crop is starting to go in. Clinton Griffiths joins us with Brian Splitt to talk about some good news when it comes to wheat prices.
Brian Splitt with agmarket.net, our guest today. And Brian, let's talk about this wheat market because there are folks, especially in the southern plains, putting in some winter wheat right now. Some other folks up a little bit further north still finishing up some harvest. Where do you stand on this wheat market and where it's headed?
I'm friendly wheat in general.
Okay.
I think that we've seen the wheat complex between the soft red, the hard red, and the Minneapolis wheat have potentially bottomed a little bit later than maybe what would be considered normal. But I think we've got a story with the Minneapolis contract where we've had a record fund short. And I have a lot of producers that I talk to up north that are really complaining about their crop going backwards fast, sprouting in the field with warm temperatures that we could actually see that really hurt the quality of that crop. And so when you look at a record fund short there, the potential for good short covering, and then you look at some of the the values for new crop winter wheat as we go into seeding time frame. We've had the July Kansas City wheat contract trading near $4.20 a bushel, which really is the lowest value for a new crop contract prior to planting since I think about 2006.
Wow.
So when you think about where we are, I think we're going to really have another further reduction in wheat plantings this year. And it's going to be another year of, oh, this is the lowest winter wheat seedings, especially for the hard red contract that we've seen since forever, right? So I think there's some reason for the wheat market to continue to go to some higher values in the short term.
As we look globally, you know, we know over the past year we've had some weather issues in different parts of the world. Are there any indicators out there globally that you say, hey, let's keep an eye on this?
Well, we've had some interesting weather through a lot of the different growing regions, and so I think right now the main focus weather-wise is going to be pointed at South America. That's the part of the world that's going to be growing the crop that everybody's interested in as we go into their soybean plantings. Right. And we talked about that a little bit, of potentially seeing a delayed planting scenario there, which would open up our export window a little bit further. But I think overall we've had some rather volatile weather, and that is the trend right now, and the trend is your friend. So looking for additional volatile weather patterns to continue around the globe. All
right, so much to watch. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Brian. We'll be back with more Ag Day coming up.
To contact Brian Splitt at Ag Market, call 844-4AG-MARKET or visit their website at www.agmarket.net.
Well, Tropical Storm Imelda is threatening to dump up to 18 inches of rain in parts of southeast Texas and southwestern Louisiana over the next few days. An official in the area says the main threat remains the potential for heavy rainfall and flooding. But he says the ground is dry and initial rainfall will go toward saturating it. The National Weather Service says Imelda is the first named storm to impact the Houston area since Hurricane Harvey. And then, Mike, we're also keeping watch on Hurricane Umberto and Tropical Storm Jerry. Man, we have a lot to watch.
Yeah, Umberto's heading out to sea for the most part, so we're not too worried about that. Jerry will have to watch down the road. It's still coming from the eastern portions of the tropics. Well, let's check out the root zone moisture, and you can see the wet areas are not near the tropics in this country. They're in the upper Midwest. But tropical moisture is, as we just told you, falling in East Texas from Imelda. So this will probably turn blue by the time we show this map next week. But most of this blue has been shifting slowly this season from the central plains on up into the northern areas. And a lot of this is because of the complexes of storms we saw about a week and a half ago, just moving from west to east through this area. But there are places farther south from here into parts of Indiana and Illinois that actually could use a little more moisture. Obviously, it's still very dry, many parts of the southeast, mid-Atlantic, central Appalachians, and many parts of the southwest, although we see that new blue area there, parts of southeastern Arizona, southwestern New Mexico. All right, let's check things out then. There's the remnants of Imelda. That's going to move very slowly for a while and then start to pick up speed. Umberto is going to continue to move out to sea. Now it's going to make a little bit of a turn to the north, but then it'll take off northeast again, and it shouldn't really affect anybody. Although, I mean, by the time you get to the British Isles, perhaps down the road, they may have the remnants and a pretty good storm out of it. There's late in the day tomorrow. High pressure is still dominating from the Tennessee Valley into the northeast. There'll be some scattered showers and thunder showers along this front. Not a lot of moisture to deal with, though. Then as we head through tonight, you can see the remnants of Imelda starting to pick up speed. That will continue to move north, and we'll start to see a little bit of tropical moisture moving into eastern Oklahoma and western Arkansas from that. Scattered showers, again, kind of along this front. There's the main storm system. Once that goes by, then we'll see the cool front move farther east across the Plain States. So there's the past 24 hours. Most of the heavy rain, obviously, in the Houston, Texas area, southeastern Texas anyway. Adding in the next 36 hours, we'll add some over the upper Midwest and also more in East Texas. Temperature is going to be very hot, except where Imelda is putting down rain in the southern plains. More comfortable farther north. Low temperatures tonight going to drop again into the 40s in the far northeast, but still pretty muggy through the central plains. And you can see that's going to warm up again as we head through tomorrow afternoon into the Plain States. There's the jet stream, the ridge holding over the Great Lakes. Northeast for a while, the next trough over the weekend and into next week kind of digs through. Ridge tries to pop back up again on Wednesday and Thursday, but with a cutoff low, we may start to see cooler air again for the Great Lakes in the Northeast. That's a look across the country. Now let's take a look at some local forecasts. Head to Lewistown, Montana, first of all. Partly sunny and pleasant, high of 64. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, warm and humid with times of sunshine, high of 89. And Indianapolis, Indiana, lots of sunshine today. It'll be warm in the afternoon, high of 84 degrees.
There's a new CEO for the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. Plus, water is an important commodity in Texas, and one large tract of land with water rights is now up for sale. Details next.
Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast that is all about production agriculture. Farming the Countryside is available wherever you listen to your favorite podcast and is brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, the world's largest provider of crop inputs and services.
You're looking at the new Chief Executive Officer of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. His name is Colin Woodall. Woodall joined NCBA in 2004. He has handled the group's efforts in Washington, D.C. for more than a decade. Woodall takes the reins from Kendall Frazier, who announced he planned to retire earlier this year. PETA is using the fires in Brazil's Amazon rainforest as a backdrop for its latest campaign against livestock production. This time, it's targeting a company in Chicago. This is the billboard the animal rights group has erected near Horwin Leather Company. It shows a cow ripping off the flesh of a leopard next to the words, "Wearing leather kills more animals than you think." The ad claiming ranchers set fires in the Amazon rainforest to graze cattle and grow crops to feed them. PETA says the production of leather shares responsibility for the environmental hazards of the meat and dairy industries. It also claims leather accounts for 20% of the commercial value of a cow. But Drovers disputes that, saying today the value is less than 1% because demand for leather has dropped. Some key Texas water rights are up for sale. This is an aerial map of the property. The 1,700-plus acre Rio Bravo Ranch, along with its 30,000 acre-feet of water per year, are on the market. The current owners say their property and the water rights date back to 1909. That represents one of the largest long-term sources of water in West Texas near El Paso. We've told you about the need for veterinarians in rural parts of Texas. Now, one university is hoping if they build it, they will come next. Later today, Texas Tech will break ground on a new veterinary school. It's only the second one in the state. As Farm Journal's Tyne Morgan reports, it's all in an effort to address the rural vet shortage.
Weston Cleveland isn't a complacent college student.
Animal science business, a lot of economics classes, so there's a lot of math involved in that. And not to say I'm not good at math, but I don't enjoy it.
Cleveland is from East Texas, but ventured to the western part of the state to major in animal sciences. A couple years into his college stint, he realized the business emphasis wasn't for him.
I've been working at Texana Feeders in South Texas for the past 7 years or so. And just being involved, sitting on horseback every day, riding pens, checking calves, checking cattle, things like that.
And it's a switch that's not uncommon today as the interest in pre-vet is gaining momentum.
The number of pre-veterinary students in the building just to our right have more than doubled in the last 4 years.
That interest sparked a major change, with Texas Tech accomplishing a feat first brought forth 50 years ago.
It's been in the works for 5 decades, and so it's a huge honor, but it's also an awesome responsibility. We have just a growing demand for veterinarians. We have overemployment of veterinarians in Texas.
Lon Reagan says Texas licenses 500 to 550 veterinarians every year in the state, and Texas A&M only produces 130 graduates of its vet school each year. It's not just the overemployment situation. There are a growing number of Texas Tech students who aspire to be vets, one of those students being Cleveland.
We are working very hard to welcome the first class in the fall of 2021.
A historic moment that can't come soon enough for impassioned future veterinarians like Cleveland.
The second their application opens, I think I'm going to send it within the first 30 minutes.
Cleveland wants to find work in a rural area, something to which Texas Tech plans to cater its curriculum and training.
It really is a liberating understanding to know that we can have a much narrower focus being the second program in the state. And our focus is small agricultural and regional communities all across Texas.
For Cleveland, taking part in such a historic moment at Texas Tech would be monumental.
We've needed this vet school, and to see and know how much change it's going to bring to West Texas and rural communities, and how much of a help it's going to be to farmers and ranchers all over.
Opening doors to address the growing need for more veterinarians in the rural landscape across the Lone Star State.
Well, that's all the time we have this morning. We're glad you tuned in. For all of us here at Ag Day, I'm Betsy Gibbon. Have a great day.